Let's talk about switch hitting. That's a subject that doesn't really come up very much when the Deadball Era is discussed because there were not many switch hitters in the Deadball Era. And that really surprised me. I would have thought that it seems like such a clever thing to do, and the Deadball hitters are all about being clever, whatever it takes to get on base. If you are batting from opposing sides of the plate against righty, lefty, what you're doing, of course, is you're neutralizing the breaking ball. The ball is always breaking into you. But although there are switch hitters that we all know who have hit that way, let's just think of a few of them. We have, of course, Tim Raines, who recently went into the Hall of Fame, and the Cardinals, when I was growing up back in the 80s, they had the team that had Vince Coleman and Ozzie Smith and Willie McGee and Tommy Herr. All four of those guys were switch hitters. But all of those guys, and then we have Nellie Fox and Red Schoendienst and I'm leaving out so many that deserve to be mentioned. But those guys, they were, Maury Wills was one I wanted to mention because Maury was stuck in the minor leagues doing nothing as a right-handed hitter, and then some coach got him to turn around and also bat left. He probably got to be much better batting left. And this is true of most switch hitters. Since you see mostly right-handed pitching, most of your at-bats are going to be left-handed, and he was pretty fast anyway. So whenever you hit from that left side, you get down the line a little faster and probably beat out more singles. So those guys, they were speed merchants, they were get-on-base guys. Why didn't more Deadball Era hitters hit that way? Well, and then of course, we have the other kind of hitter, Eddie Murray, Mickey Mantle, Teixeira, and Chipper Jones in very recent times. I think those guys liked to have the ball breaking into them so they could pull it and hit it over the fence as often as possible. But there too, I mean, you think a Deadball hitter might want to be able to tie into a pitch and drive it as far as he can. I think in those old days, because there were so many parks that had very, very deep outfields, and some of them didn't even have a defined wall, they just had a rope, depending on how many people were gathered in the crowd, and they would rope it off out there. And the later parks, they would still have, the power alleys might be 450 feet out there. So I think if you could just shoot the ball on a line and get it into the outfield and run like a rabbit, you just see how far you could get. In that kind of environment, it was more desirable to just have the ball breaking into you, to be that extra couple of steps toward first base, and just see if you could put it in play. Such a reward, as I say, just to be able to get it into that power alley. It was so much more generous out there. I don't know. I'm still amazed at this. I'm kind of spinning my wheels because I don't know how to explain it. I was trying to Google who was the first switch hitter in the MLB, and I never did really come up with an answer. I know about Max Carey. I know about Frankie Frisch. Of course, the Dodger hitter Pete Reeser, who kept running into the wall, and everyone thought he would end up in Cooperstown. He just couldn't stay healthy long enough. But all those guys, again, were, I think, probably their game was more speed. Now, they were switch hitting, so, they apparently didn't mind having that couple of extra steps to run to first base when someone was pitching left-handed. Maybe they just didn't like having the breaking ball coming at them and then breaking away. Maybe they just couldn't handle that, but it seems like all of those early switch hitters were more of the Willie McGee type and not the Mark Teixeira type. Then we have, I just discovered the other day, a guy named George Davis, who was admitted into the Hall of Fame in, actually formally admitted in 1998, which I think was exactly 99 years after he retired. So, of course, he wasn't around to enjoy that. But He was back in I think he started in about 1890, 1891 or something, so he was technically, I guess, pre-Deadball. He was as far back as I could go. Why then, at Small Ball Success, where we talk about dead ball hitting so much, why would we even discuss switch hitting? Which I think is a good thing. Let me tell you why I think it's a good thing and why I wanted to have this discussion, and then how I've decided to relate it to our mission at Small Ball Success. I think that actually, and I'm going to put this under the approach rubric on the website because what I have to say about it is primarily about approach. I think that if you wait on the pitch, if you set up back from the plate and then make your arms get extended, let the ball get deep, be a little late on it, let your arms get extended, drive it down that opposite field line. Of course, you're doing this when you're hitting right-handed too against a lefty. He's probably going to try to pitch you outside, especially if you set up way off the plate. He's going to think you can't reach the outside corner, so you let him pitch you out there. You hit the ball late and you drive it down the right field line. I just love that strategy because it, first of all, lets you get such a good look at the ball. If it's a good fastball, you have a little bit more time to react to it. If it's a breaking ball, you see the break better, longer, and you know if you want to offer at it or not. It's also better, and I think younger kids will be particularly interested in this, if you're a little bit afraid of the ball. And let's face it, practically everyone with an operative brain in his skull is a little bit afraid of the way some people throw the ball, especially so many big guys trying to really rush it in there today. If they think there's a scout in the stands with a jugs gun, they don't necessarily know where it's going. And with today's short bats, you kind of have to crowd the plate. Well, if you're taking this approach, you don't have to crowd the plate. You want to, as I say, to get back and then follow the ball, follow it, let it get in, and then poke it down the other line. That minimizes your chances of getting drilled by a really bad pitch. And of course, since you are switch hitting, you're not confused about whether the one that's coming in tight is going to break or not. The ball, nobody throws a screwball anymore, so if it's going to be a breaking pitch, it's going to break into you. It makes it much less likely that you're going to get hit. And if a ball does come in and hit you, it's probably a breaking ball that got away from the pitcher, so it's not traveling at 98 miles an hour. So there's that angle too. And I know that nobody wants to admit being a little scared of the ball, but that's, to the extent that that's at the back of your mind, let's face it, that's kind of interfering with your effectiveness as a hitter. And I think as a switch hitter who's back from the plate and is looking to get his arms extended and who's looking to be light on the pitch and he's going the other way with it, I think that you're in the most comfortable position that a hitter can be in terms of just having that assurance that the pitcher is serving up balls for you to hit. You don't have that worry that, well, I'm the target. I don't really know that this guy has any control at all. There's not that anxiety to overcome. A small ball approach, therefore, emphasizes, we're not talking about so many, I don't want to defame Mark Teixeira and Chipper Jones and those guys. Well, Mickey Mantle too, he was a batting champ at least once in his career that I know of. A lot of times a guy who's a tough, big power hitter, the outfield has to move so far back that a lot of his little duck snorts will fall in shallow outfield. So that it's not that they don't hit for average, but we're talking about smaller players, and we're probably not going to get that kind of respect that moves outfielders to the warning track. So we really have to have a better approach, a better strategy to get our hits to fall in. So we're looking for those low line drives. And I think that actually switch hitting is is a very good way to do that. Now, I'm going to make a second video where I try to do a demonstration, and I'm going to use what is my favorite small ball, my dead ball favorite swing, where I lift the bat lift the barrel with my top hand as I see the pitch about to come. And when I do that, it's going to catalyze a little hop on the back foot so that I have my load there. I'm going to curl the front knee. You've seen me do this before, and especially now I'm really emphasizing putting my wrists into a V, and that really allows me to accelerate my chop into the ball. It gives me a very linear stroke. Because I'm setting back from the plate too, it looks like this is going to come way down on the ball and chop it into the ground, but I'm having to reach out with that, so that's going to level out that barrel. Now, yeah, I've talked about this before, but I haven't done it from the right side, except to mention, I think once or twice, that I don't do this very well from the right side. And this is a thing that switch hitters have to fight with. There are things about your body, you know, practically everybody has a leg that's longer. Usually, if you are right-hand dominant, your right leg is going to be a little bit longer than your left leg. You probably have a dominant eye, which isn't necessarily the one that sees the eye chart the best. My right eye is a little weaker than my left eye, but it's my dominant eye. There is practically no one on this earth who's a real ambidextrous whiz. You know, their ambidexterity is something you can develop to some extent, but there are very, very few people who are genuinely just immediately right out of the gate able to write with their left hand or their right hand, able to throw a ball with their left hand, throw it with their right. So even switch hitters tend to be people who have a better hand, and of course from the left side, if you're right-handed, as most of us are, that better hand is going to be on the bottom. It's on the steering wheel here. It's pulling down on the bat around the knob, and that gives you better bat control. Most switch hitters will hit for higher average, but with less power, because when they turn around and hit from the other side, the strong hand is on top, and that puts your real power closer to the center of gravity, to the real weight of the bat up here. It lets you accelerate it maybe a little bit faster. You don't have quite as much on the steering wheel, so your control of the bat may be a little bit less. Now, switch hitting is going to really call upon you to be aware that you don't want to mirror your good side, your natural side, in the other side. Actually, left-handed hitting now seems more natural to me, so when I turn around and hit right, I try to hit the same way that I do left, but I have to fight against that, and I have to tell myself, no, let my body figure out what it really wants to do. And in the demonstration, you're going to see that my hands will not come as far up. I'm not going to bend my wrists in quite as much. I'm not going to curl my knee, because for some reason I just don't want to do that. It doesn't feel natural. So as a switch hitter, you're going to have to discover what it is that works for you from that other, less natural side.